Welcome to Eat Baila Travel. We are Jenny and Kevin, two Mexican Americans traveling Mexico in search of home. And today we are coming to you from the Pueblo Magico of Sayulita. If you haven't heard of Sayulita, let us catch you up. In the last 5 years, this Pueblo Magico has been one of the hottest beach destinations along the Mexican Pacific. It's known for its surfing, friendly vibes, and nightlife.
Throughout our travels in Mexico, we've been recommended to visit Sayulita by plenty of people. So we're finally here to see if it's worth the hype. Before we start showing you around in Sayulita, let's tell you how we got here. From Puerto Vallarta, we took an Uber to the bus station. At the bus station, there's about 5 bus lines that leave to Sayulita throughout the day. The bus ride is an hour long and we paid 88 pesos for our ride. When you're at the bus station, we suggest that you ask at the counter if there's a bus that takes you directly inside the town of Sayulita. Here's something funny that happened to us when we arrived to Sayulita. The big charter buses don't seem to go into town, so they drop you off on the side of the road. From there, it's either a 15-minute walk to the town, or you can take a combi at the OXXO. A combi is a shared van. For the most part, they're white. Unfortunately, when we arrived to the OXXO, we missed it. Because we traveled with all of our luggages, we ended up taking a taxi to town, and we paid about 70 pesos for a 5-minute ride. So if you could take the combi, or if you want to walk, save yourself some bucks. We are staying at the Riyadh Lola Hotel in Sayulita, a budget hotel with all the basics and very well located. For $25 a night, this hotel is very centrally located and just a few blocks away from all the action. We will start our vlog by sharing some of the good that Sayulita has to offer. Then we'll move on to the bad. And lastly, we'll finish off with the ugly. But first, let's give you some historical background on Sayulita. Sayulita is a small town with an estimated 2,500 people living in it. Its popularity among beginner surfers and intermediate surfers has made this place one of the most popular destinations in the riviera de Nayarit. But before surfing, Sayulita was known for extracting coconut oil. During the coconut oil boom in the early 1900s, the pueblo we now know as Sayulita was made up of palm tree ranches. The inhabitants that lived near the area dedicated their lives to extract coconut oil until the 1940s, when the coconut production drastically declined. From there, the locals restored to fishing and agriculture. In the 1960s, with the boom of Puerto Vallarta, a road was built in 1965 from Puerto Vallarta to Sayulita to encourage tourism to the area. Tourism brought surfers that fell in love with Sayulita for its consistent wave break and its secluded location. What was once considered a best-kept secret among surfers is now one of the most popular destinations for surfing in Mexico.
Sayulita's magic starts at the beach, but the enchantment continues into town. For such a small town, there is a lot to do here. But if you wanted to do nothing, you could also do that. Otherwise, you can hang out at the beach, learn to surf, practice surfing, spas, street food, street entertainment, bars, and just a ton of nightlife. We arrived in Sayulita on Sunday and their baseball league was in full force and we loved it.
We got lucky that we got to come to Sayulita on a Sunday because they have a baseball league, Las Ligas del Pueblo, and man, this is pretty cool. I've never experienced a baseball game in Mexico. Cool, the whole community gathers around, they get their beers, their drinks, they bring their speakers to put music for their players, for their intros. It's dope, I love it.
It felt a lot like a small town right off the bat. Another thing that impressed us was the wide variety of foods this small town offers. Back in Chicago, we were used to a variety of food and we loved having Thai food, for example. And it just so happens that Sayulita is home to one of the few Thai restaurants that we've seen in Mexico. So join us while we go satisfy this craving. Normally we like to hit up the local food spots, but we could not miss out on the opportunity for some authentic Thai food. It was delicious, but it's the kind of restaurant that clearly caters to tourists. I'm so happy I could cry. I miss Thai food so much.
Got me a pumpkin fried rice. Has a lot of flavor, like ginger, shallots.
Here's what we loved most about Sayulita, the Latin dance scene. We were happily surprised to discover 3 Latin dance nights hosted weekly. There are more places to dance salsa in Sayulita than in Puerto Vallarta, which is surprising considering that Sayulita is a much smaller town.
So now that we've talked to you about all the good things Sayulita has to offer, we gotta mention a little bit about the bad. Personally, I think the prices are very, very inflated here in Sayulita. There might be several reasons for that. One, it's isolated from any major city. The closest major city is Puerto Vallarta, which is 45 minutes. Another reason might be just the high tourism. If you can charge more, then why not, right? It's just so strange because it's such a small town, has a pueblo field, and to have to pay like $3 or $4 for a taco, it's quite steep. That's one of the bad things about Sayulita, and even hotels as well. Hotels, the prices can be very steep. We looked online, and minimum you're paying at least $75 to $125 for a hotel. We're also here during its peak time in December. But people say that
It gets busier in January and February.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that such a small town has driven up its prices to cater to tourism, which largely affects the residents here. And to get to the ugly,
Well, here's the ugly. It's way too small for all the crowds that it gets.
yep, it's only December, and we are told that it gets crazier in January in terms of crowds, and it just feels way overcrowded for the small amount of space that there is. There are only about 2,500 residents here, but it feels like there are 10,000 tourists walking around. Like I mean, I don't know how many actually, but there are definitely way more tourists around here than actual residents. It is a very touristy place, but I think it's still very much here. But I wonder to what extent or what other kinds of effects this tourism is having on people, other than, of course, driving up the prices for the cost of living.
Right. It makes me wonder, was Puerto Vallarta like this? Was it like small, like Sayulita, and due to tourism, did it just keep developing and developing to get to its point?
There was space for it to develop. Here, I'm not sure if there is space to grow out. It seems like there's only one major beach here, and I don't know if there are other beaches nearby that would be considered Sayulita. We went to San Pancho for like an afternoon, which was really close, but then again, now we're talking about a whole nother pueblo. It hasn't expanded in size as far as geography, the town, but it is continuing to grow in visitors, and that's just overwhelming, I think, for the city. The trash situation is very visible, You can see that there's a constant overflow of trash.
Especially at night when they pick up in the mornings at night.
Yeah,
you see
and
a
they
bunch
pick
of
it up
trash
regularly. It's just
Can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our conclusion. Is Sayulita worth the hype? What do you think, Jenny? Oh, that smile.
Okay, so here's my take. I really like Sayulita, but I don't love it. As it comes to tourist destinations, it's a great place to visit. I wouldn't stay here super long because it is pricey. It's not very budget friendly, but it's a great place to vacation. There are a few co-working spaces for people who work remotely, although the internet is not super reliable. It's a really cool place. Definitely, I would recommend for people to come, but I don't think I would hype it up as much as others might be. Or maybe it's just one of those things where people overhyped it for us, and then we came, and it was cool, but not like my favorite.
Yeah, I'm right with you too. I don't think it's worth all the hype, but I think it's worth coming. You can come from Puerto Vallarta and make it a 2-day trip, and I think...
Or even a day trip. Lots of people do day trips.
Yeah, but I think like if you want to come from Puerto Vallarta and do some surfing, it would be nice for you to come a day or two, at least 2 days. Now, if you really want to do surfing and disconnect, it would be cool to come for a week. But again, you're gonna pay a hefty price to be here in Sayulita. I mean, the food, the atmosphere, the people, it's all great. It's a good vibe, It's very hippie, very hipsterish. But I mean, for surfing, and you know what you're getting into when you come to Sayulita, and that's you're gonna surf, you're gonna eat, you're gonna drink, and you're gonna party.
Doesn't sound bad at all to me.
It doesn't, right? Exactly. But the huge hype, like I wouldn't pay $150 for the entire week per night to be here. But I would like to come back because we were very busy all the time that we were here in Sayulita filming. And working, so I would like to come back for a couple of days to just enjoy and surf as much as we can. But it all depends. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes.
If you've been to Sayulita, let us know what your thoughts were on it, or based on this video, if you look forward to visiting. I hope you do, because it's definitely a good spot.
Well, that's it from us. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like, the thumbs up. Se cuidan, se bañan y nos vemos hasta la próxima.
Ciao.